Hello and welcome to CTOsAtWork podcast series. In this podcast series, we talk to chief technology officers, engineering head, product and technology leaders from all around the world and learn from them how they work, how they build and manage world-class technologies and product, how they hire great talent and many more interesting things we cover in this podcast. And I'm your host, Love Chopra. And now I'm really proud and honored to introduce you to our today's guest who has pioneered the online batch processing model to control the data with military grade security, which can measure and protect integrity and access of data. And he has done many such amazing things in his entire career journey. And he's the person who is behind the amazing technologies of Cilio Platform. He is the executive vice president and chief architect for Cilio Technology, who is none other than my friend Mr. Jeremy Olejenik. So with that note, I would like to welcome Jeremy. So, Jeremy, welcome. How are you? It's a great honor to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Love. That was a heck of an introduction. I don't know if I could do that any better myself. You're going to give me a really big head over here, but I certainly appreciate that introduction, and it's great to be on your podcast with you today.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. So, Jeremy, I guess you have spent almost 20 years building Celio platform. So, how was your journey of last 20 years? And I'm sure many of our listeners are curious to know how you have, what was your motivation of being 20 years to build this platform?
Yeah, I hear 20 years, and I can't believe it myself because it goes by so fast when you're having so much fun. But this this basically this career ladder that I've climbed in my life. It all started by developing software that solved very key business issues for both public and private sector companies, really. And this kind of launched with my father back in 2001, and we started with a company at that time called LG, and back then they were located out of Phoenix, Arizona. And LG had an issue with managing orders that were coming to them from Lowe's. They had a bunch of problems with their installed sales management. They wanted to be able to route orders to their network. They wanted to be able to pay their installers and view the jobs and manage their installers from a national footprint. So we were challenged right away in the upfront, and we built basically our first Lowe's portal for LG, which later we ended up taking to Lowe's and having Lowe's buy into our program, which really kind of drew my career a little bit further in learning how these systems kind of come together and work. Well, Lowe's had brought in an additional 4 manufacturers into this platform, and pretty soon we were servicing the countertop market space, exceeding over 275 million in transactional sales and volume through the software platform. So we really started taking this product off and executing it at a very rapid level. Since then, we've fired up another product that we brought into our house called CIO. It specializes in the installation market space specifically. Today, there's a little over 20,000 users on these systems. There are installers, our manufacturers, their distributors, and the system is very fluid and growing very fast. But my career path in growing these systems over the last 20 plus years has been amazing. And the things I've been learning about bringing systems to market has been a very rewarding, challenging, hair loss type deal. So it's been a fun ride so far, but that's a little bit about my career path and kind of how I got to a little bit about where I'm at today. So yeah.
Wow, that's quite interesting. And as far as your career journey, Jeremy, it's you started, I guess, with healthcare, right? And then you transition into this industry. So, what was that transition look like, and what was the motivation behind, and how you climbed this ladder to being with that?
Sure. When I was back in the healthcare, I was a PACS administrator for Community and Freighter Health here out of Wisconsin, and I was responsible for the movement of data. The workflow of data, that's the best way to describe it. It deals with digital imaging that goes through radiology imaging systems, and radiologists read these images and they go to the techs and they go to the patients and then they go to the patient billing and then the job is done. That sequential workflow I learned in the radiology market from leaving that and going into the building industry market. The synergies between them were huge in terms of workflow management of an order and or a job. So the transition into working at Cilio from what I've done in the hospitals has been very closely related to each other. The difference is that instead of dealing with patients, you're dealing with orders, but the workflows are still very much translucent in the same in how you kind of manage it. So I was able to use a lot of those skill sets I learned out of the healthcare industry and apply not just the workflow management tools and software, but the security aspect of it as well, and making sure data is secure and safe and routing properly and correctly. And people looking at it can all have the right views and permissions to see the information they need to be able to see.
Yeah, pretty interesting. So, do you think, Jeremy, for a technology leader, as you have built all of these systems absolutely from the grounds up, and you worked very very closely with all the business people, the core operations people as well. So, as a technologist, do you think it's really important for a technologist to understand the business side of the things as well? Since
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's for that role to fulfill it well. You have to have an understanding of the full stack of product that brings the solution to the table. And if you look at it from a CTO lens, for example, you have to understand everything from the code-based language for the product that you're bringing to the table. You have to understand your deployment rollout strategies on how that product is going to be deployed and rolled out to your end users and your customers. You have to understand your hosting models and how the product is going to be accessed, the front end, the user's experience, the whole entire stack of your product. You have to have a really good, strong understanding of that. If you don't have an understanding of that product stack, you can lose money and value in your product, in the delivery of the product to your customers. You can excuse me, you can paint yourself into a corner pretty quickly if you invest into software or technologies that are soon to be end of life, and you won't be able to use that software much more. You'll be spending more money replacing it than you will be actually using it or making money on it, for that matter. So you have to have that view. You have to have that understanding of what it is that's making up that product, that's bringing it to market. And without it, you're going to get lost. So it's very, very critical to understand how that product's going to play in your market space.
Oh, that's really really fantastic to know that. That's great. And to the audience, I'm sure everybody must be curious about to know what Celio does exactly, and why technology is important for a business like Celio, which at the very
Yeah,
surface looks like a very traditional, uh, physical oriented business, where brick and mortar sort of a business. You're supporting and helping. So how it is, what is Celio first of all, and then we'll get into the technology piece later. Yeah.
sure, sure. That's a great question, and I get it all the time. And I'm not even sure my wife or kids can describe what we do yet today. So, but for the audience members that are out there, we're a SaaS based online platform. We're built specifically for the installation and service providers. Our Cilio platform, it's used by installers across all building materials and trade categories, and that includes your windows and doors, your flooring, kitchen and bathroom, remodelers, landscaping, roofing, HVAC, solar, electric, construction, plumbing, and so many others. The software, it allows visibility to a job from multiple viewpoints, and it brings not just the visibility into a job, but it drives efficiency for people to do jobs a lot better and a lot more efficient. In terms of efficiency, it's communication, it's seeing the job and the status that it's in, it's having the ability to notate on a job and or text somebody or email somebody from a job. So the visibility and the efficiencies of our system is a very, very important component. And on top of that, our system will allow you to do multi-channel support. So we can take in orders from different channels, from Lowe's, from Costco, from Home Depot, from all different big boxes and or private small business shops, and bring it into one system for a client. So they have a one-stop shop for all of their orders in a environment that they can ultimately control. The software does field service, field crew management, so you can pay your crews for our installers. We have a full customer experience for interactions with our customers. And of course, we have always the famous the reporting, Power BI. You always have to have analytics sitting on top of everything that you do. So it brings a lot of information into a central spot for you. We integrate today into Lowe's. We're in Measure Square, in Home Depot, Oracle, Costco, Google, a number of other major company organizations that are out there for providing us with information that we can use in our tool, and we can manage it. And we make our customers look really good. Love, we make them look good because our software makes them more efficient into what they're doing. So if our customers aren't winning, trust me, we're not winning. So it's a great product. It's important. It centralizes visibility into the jobs. The ideal company range that we use today, we go anywhere from a very small mom and pop shop all the way up to publicly traded Fortune 500 based companies that we work with today. We have several of those that are both national and international, and very rewarding to see them take our product, our platform, and implement it in such a way that they are benefiting from it, and they're using it, and they're actively growing with our software in their environment. So it's a Swiss Army knife for the installation market space, and we do a lot of work in that thing.
Oh, wow, wow, that sounds really interesting. So you have very beautifully defined, but seems like under the hood the system must be very, very complex, because to make it simple seems like you are making it for all the installers, which require a very simplistic solution at their hand. But under the hood it must be a very, very complex solutions.
Yes, yeah, it is. It's very complex, and the most rewarding thing to hear from my side is to hear somebody in the field or somebody tell me, "Oh, this is so easy. We could develop this, or we could do this. We could put this together because the UI and the front end looks so simplistic in its return." However, the data and the abstraction layers and the models that we put in play for getting our information to move around, including machine learning and Power BI environments in a big lake in our data and our analytics. There is a lot of moving parts that go on underneath the hood in our software. And one of our key strengths with all of this is we deal with a lot of data. So with a lot of data comes a lot of risk, which drives a lot of security governance around a lot of our information. So we're really tight about that, our processes and how we put our systems together. But yeah, it can be a little bit of a challenge at times to unwind and look at the engine that's pumping underneath this thing. But it's pretty impressive, though, to say the least.
Wow, wow, this is fantastic. So let me take a step back, Jeremy, because one of the very interesting thing which I observed in your journey, you have seen the time when software was built 20 years back, and you are actively speaking now as well. You are transforming with your platform the entire industry. So what change you see in the software development industry, which was 20 years back and now?
The biggest changes that have happened since 2001 to 2022 is ease of use in the UI, your front end experiences. The users, if they're not receiving their information within milliseconds of clicking a button, they have grown to be extremely impatient. That is by and far one of the biggest changes that has come along the way. And the challenges we've had at Cilio is being able to be responsive fast enough and quick enough so that at a click of a button, a button that, by the way, can handle a multitude of tasks for you, that transaction and that process happens efficiently, quickly, and completes in a timely manner. So getting a system to be responsive very, very quickly that does a lot of things for you required a change in the way we did things before to the way that we do things today. It used to be you would interact with the website, it would do something for you, and then it would return back to you when it was all done. Today, what we do is we interact with this website, but we transact everything that goes on that website, and then we service run that on the back end through process workflows. And by doing some of these strategies, we're able to grow our system at a very rapid pace, where we're dealing with tons and tons and tons of data. But to the end user, they're seeing it very, very, very quickly. So by structuring our system in such a way, today we're able to acquire a huge amount of speed. The other big change is the UI. I mentioned it just a second ago. If your user interface isn't, as we like to call it, we call it KISS. It stands for Keep It Simple Stupid. That's the model we like to stay within.
Yeah.
If it's not easy to use, it's not going to be successful. And we have to take a lot of information and a lot of data and present it in such a way that somebody is going to understand it. So things like software helpers, training guides, documentation, these sorts of things really drive that ease of use component, which we really, really steer for. We're not perfect at it. I'll be the first to tell you, but it's something that we always continually strive at making better in our platform, and I think we're doing a pretty good job with it today, even as we're growing into some of these new software technologies that we've been working on in the last quarter here of the year.
Wow, wow, that's really great learning, and definitely I can see, and definitely our audience also see, the kind of passion you have for building the great product, and the very beautifully you are articulating all the learnings around that. So one of the very interesting segue on this journey of, like you just mentioned, how the software was built in 2001 and how it is now, technology perspective. Now from the leadership perspective, how you see that transition, and that transition I would say more closely in terms of when somebody start their a company, let's say a 10 years or 20 years back, then they start with almost two or three of folks in the development team, right? So what role changes in the role you see in a technology leadership role when somebody runs a small company and the same small companies grows bigger? So what uh, like responsibility and roles you see, the technology leaders need to evolve?
Yeah, that's an awesome question, Love. And I know a lot of people that find themselves asking that very question to themselves. And for me, when we started the software platform, it was myself, one other developer. We had one guy selling it, and then we had two people sitting in support. And we were growing, and we were growing pretty quickly. So, from my standpoint, what I had to do is I had to identify my strengths and my contribution to the product. And I had to find somebody that can do it better than I can do it and hire them and bring them in to do my job. That elevated me up. So I no longer had to worry about that task. As I moved up that elevation in the company, I took the next model and I said, what am I doing very, very good here? I need to get somebody in here and I need to bring them in there and I need to do that job. So it goes all the way from development to things like your scrum masters, your technical BAs, your product owners, all the way up that chain. Well, when we started it, I was doing all of those levels at one person. So when we grew the company, as the company started to grow, in order to grow myself in the business and in order to grow the business and make it successful, I had to replace those positions I was taking on with people that I always hired that are better than me. I want to bring in employees that make me look good. So I really focused on people that were very data centric, very open minded to process controls, people that were very focused on taking constructive feedback from the product side and being able to implement that. And then more importantly, people that were very receptive of technical information and being able to interpret that into a much more easier understanding for our end customers to understand. So being able to replace your value in a company allows you to grow your value in the company for your long run. And then ultimately that's going to grow your business. And that's the trajectory that we took in our company and growing this thing since, early 2001, 2008 up into 2015 and now to our current state. And that's been the model I've been focused on. It always wasn't that easy. There were some bumps in the road, but we fought through them, and we really did make it work, and we did make it successful, and kind of where we're at today with that, implementing that type of model.
Wow, that's great, because I have seen in many phases people feel really confused about the role of a technology head, right? Be it like CTO or be it any name we give. In some companies, they considered like a rock star techie, and some they treated like a leadership guru, and some they are play the role of evangelism and so many different things. But I think the learning which you have shared is it largely depends upon the size of the company, and accordingly the person who's playing that leadership role, the head of that role, has to adapt themselves in that role, fit into the shoes, and then move up to the ladder in that sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that,
Correct.
that's great.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's great. And in this I just yeah, pick very interesting point from your just you mentioned about build system based on the market learning, right? So as this role of technology head, is this also need to be directly linked with the market? But how? People usually, I feel very curious to know this, because this is a very, very complex subject where, as a technology leader, people think their role is to understand the technology, right? But you have brought a very interesting point of build system based on market learning. So would you like to touch and share a bit of your learning on that side, how people should uh, you know follow
Sure.
the approach to build that?
Yeah, sure. So it's really there's three components. There's your processes, you have people, and then you have the technology. And in the role of a CTO, no matter how you want to define that role, you have to be able to understand all three aspects of that. You have to understand the processes, you have to understand your people, and you have to understand your technology. If you understand all three of those, you're going to be able to provide efficient technology. So I touched a little bit on processes already. The processes you need to understand are: how do you do your deployment? How do you get your software up? How do people get to your software? How do customers and interact with it? What are the processes you use for your agile processes? What's your development cycles looking like? What's your sales market looking like? And how does that roll out with your release cycles for your software products? So your processes have to be in sync very tightly with your product side in order to make your processes work. When we first started, and we started taking off, our processes were here, there, here, there, here. And we actually called ourselves the Wild, Wild West Cowboys a lot of time, because we were just going different directions and our processes were very, very loose. So we had to bring our processes together and really formalize those. Otherwise, we were just going to lose on those processes. So you have to understand the process. And then with the people that are in your organization, not only do you have to understand, the people that are working for you, but you also have to understand your client base and the information they're providing back to you. So one of our core components that we have with our application is our people and our clients. If they're not winning, we're not winning. I said that a little bit earlier. So the feedback they bring to the table to us, for no matter what industry trade that they're in, is very, very valuable feedback. We have some partnerships already today with some of our key customers that they can give us some information about how a certain category or trade category is going to work and what can make it more efficient. And the efficiencies that they're modeling isn't for their own business, but it's for the betterment of a market space and all businesses to be able to use it. So your people, both internal people that you hire and bring in your company, and the people, your customers and clients you work with, are incredibly important to that role. And the third one on that was the technology piece of it. If you don't understand the technology, well, maybe the role isn't for you at all. But ultimately, the technology is what gets you to where you need to be able to go. And technology can be fast lived, it can be fast ended, or it can be very, very long and running. There's some technology software companies out there like Microsoft and Oracle who've been around for a long time that offer some very good core technologies that will allow you to run that out for a very, very long period of time. There's newer technologies that exist out there as well that have been in market, but now are going through the adoption processes in the market, and those yet to remain to see if those are going to win or not. But really, to me, to make up a CTO role and be efficient at it, is those three things. It's the processing, it's the people that are in it, and it's the technology. And those are the three big winning points I believe that you need in order to be efficient at that role. Hopefully,
Uh,
I answered that okay for you, Love.
that's pretty interesting, and I think you have brought a very interesting point here, Jeremy. These three pillars: process, people, and technology. Like, I people think around these three verticals, but you have brought a very interesting perspective on top of it, customer as well. So all of these three verticals need to be looked from the customer's perspective. What is the thing? And I think that's how the Amazon leadership principles also always say is the top one, the customer obsession. So how you have embedded that customer obsession piece as part of the process, people, and technology is like specific directions you give your team so that they can also think about the customer lenses while pursuing the process, people, and technology angle.
Mhm. Sure. Yeah. Our customers will come to us and bring a lot of asks, a lot of can you do this, can you do that? Here's why we really would enjoy to be able to do that. Some of those asks are very pinholed and small, so they don't really apply to our culture of the whole entire system, or it wouldn't really advance many other clients at all. While some of those other asks are for the betterment of our software. What I've found is our sales people that are in the field selling the product are doing the presentation and signing up customers and selling that product. They see what the salesman is saying, and then they go and they get it. The driver behind a lot of the functionalities and the features come from clients that are already in our system, and it really comes through our support teams. They're really the first ones in the mix with these guys, finding out what's working, fixing any kind of bugs or problems that they have to fix for them. But they're the first voice that they hear when they contact our company for any kind of assistance and or help. So our support teams that we have available to us today are really where we get a lot of our feedback with our products and how that product is working, for them, how it's working, maybe for a partner company of theirs as well. So we have a customer success manager in a company that works with our customers pretty closely to make sure that they're allocating the features and functionality of the system, making sure that they're winning with it, not losing with it or falling behind or anything like that. But really, it's that customer feedback coming through our support lines and our sales line and everything that we pull in, and we use all of that information. Sometimes people say, "Well, I don't think you're ever going to listen to this or do this," but we hear it, we listen to it, we notate it, and we do work through all of the asks that we get into our system. And I very early on in the phone call mentioned that Cilio is a multitasking application. We handle so many different variations of workflows that because it's so highly configurable, the asks we get back into our company get managed to fall into those workflows so that they don't clutter or screw them up, but that they are configurable to a client to be able to do. And really what that means is for us as a software, from our development standpoint, by giving configurationable options to our clients to configure these systems, it means less development time for features and functionalities. We can develop them and turn them on. They can buy them and use them and implement them how they want to be able to implement those tools. So it's a huge reduction off of our development team by having to program certain things for a particular client. Our configuration models is really what gives our product that strength. But all of that would not be possible unless it was for our customer service teams and the information we get back in from our clients.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. So, is there any like formula or approach or process you have put together? For example, let's say a customer request is coming, then they are asking, "Oh, put that little drop down there." So you like do this basis like more than five customers requesting the same, or you have any specific approach to that? Because I think this is the most debatable topic in every product company, that what features we should intake and what features we should not. So is there any standard process you have defined for that?
Yes. So all of our customers today that sign up at Cilio, they get implemented into our Jira system, and we actually give them their own customer support portal that shows them all their open tickets, all their open requests that they have with Cilio. And then inside of those tickets, it has our customer support feedback, some iteration back and forth, so on and so forth. Customer requests that come to us from our customers come into our product side, our product team. And they'll take that information and they'll analyze it and they'll review it, and they will quantify two different things. One, is it for the betterment of the system? Is it going to be good for our system? Are other people going to use it? Are other people going to benefit it? And as a profit company, which is what we are, is Cilio going to make money from that in the long run? Is it going to be something that's going to pay for itself over X number of time thereafter implementing it? So there's a lot of features we could implement that can cost us 50 to 100 hours of development time internally, but two companies using it with a very low service charge, we just lost, we just lost that money in that implementation. So we balance the request very closely with what returns we're going to get for the company between our customer and for the revenue side of the business as well. And that's really what we do in the balance equation there, just to making sure it's going to work for everybody is really what it is. So development is expensive, as you know, Love. It's expensive, and it's something that you have to be careful about where you invest your time and energy. And if you're doing it on something that's going to return back to that company value, then you can look at that long run and put a plan around that. You can put your sprint cycles together. Your development teams can execute that and put that into play.
Wow, this is quite interesting. I think you should go and patent this approach, this three-dimensional approach. I think this is very beneficial for everybody. I think you should write a blog about it, because it's a very objective framework to look at what features should include in the product. The three-dimension betterment of the system. Is Celio going to make advantage and money based on that product, and the price value with respect to ROI attached to it? Amazing, the three-dimensional model. I really loved it. I would definitely write a separate blog myself on this topic.
All right,
Amazing.
sounds good. Sounds good. I'll get after that right after this. Right after this, Love. You got it.
Yeah. So now this is a good segue to the organization culture piece as well, because the processes you have, which just seems to be a very very close integration of the technology, the product, and the customer embedding together. So what like insights you want to give into your organizational engineering culture? Is there any processes or practices which you have developed, which you want to share with the world, so that other people can also consume it and make themselves better?
Sure. Sure. Yeah, our processes that we're implementing are the agile processes now. We before 2022 and in the past we were kind of running pretty haphazardly. We had a lot of people doing a lot of different things, wearing a lot of different hats at one time. By bringing in our agile process, which we're just getting started into, by the way, we're gaining more control over the tasks and functionalities and the things that people need to be doing day in and day out. So we're taking a lot of the disorganization and we're organizing this in such a way that it's going to be a lot more easier to follow. And if you can follow a roadmap a little bit better, you can also forecast a roadmap a lot easier. So the organization piece and becoming organized to an agile process, like for the development cycles, it's painful to get into because you feel like you're doing more meetings than you are actually doing and performing work. But what you're doing is you're stacking your organization up in such a way that your different levels of your org can communicate easier with each other. So you have a lot more upfront work that you need to get done, but the downstroke on that is much more reward and communication. So your communication actually increases as you start putting in these processes. So what's important to me and for my employees and the people that are in the company is making sure that everybody has a voice inside of this company. I don't want our employees to come in here and think that they just have to fulfill a job. Our employees we hire, we look for some key attributes in our employees. We look for the building trade industry attributes. But a lot of them that we have here, from interacting with customers and interacting internally, they offer the information that makes our product even better yet. So we make really good, we take really good care of our customers, our employees, but we also really facilitate making sure that they have voices that are heard in the company. You know, with a better organized, engineering culture and moving more into these agile processes, we define these roles and the processes come together and these strategies all start kind of working together. And with all of that, you get faster time to market, you get scalable. I mean, scalable is like the biggest thing. Everybody, they always say you're drinking out of a fire hose with some of these big clients and got little bit drips of water coming out and all of a sudden all that water is going to come out and smash you. You've got to be able to be scalable with your product. Otherwise, you are not going to be reliable. And if there's one thing in this market that you will lose on is reliability. And if you lose reliability, your reputation is going to spread pretty darn fast, pretty fast. You got to be reliable, and you can't do those things unless you have a good organization sitting behind you, a culture that accepts what you're doing, that nobody's coming here just for a job. People are coming here to deliver purpose and promise to an outcome. And that is what ultimately I think drives that organization aspect, at least from my view lens, love. That's how I've seen it myself.
Wow, that's pretty interesting to look at the process perspective into reward communication, so that everybody is the same and everybody knows what purpose they are solving. That's very interesting way of looking around, and that's how I think that's what leadership calls.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely
For sure, for sure, for sure.
great. I think this is a very good segue to know you have done a lot of amazing things. So there must be some great aha moments you came across. So which is your favorite one?
There's too many to mention, love. Oh my goodness. um, when we brought this product to market, my father and I back in 2001, and we ramped it up to 2007, and we get a contract with Lowe's in 2007 and into 2008, and we bring in 4 or 5 manufacturers. That was really a first big one for me, where it was like, wow, something I'm doing is actually being used and paid for by somebody else. It was such a moment, and that moment repeated itself again later in 2015, when we were solving these business processes for the installed sales market space. And my business partner called me up at that time and said, well, I just sold our CIO product to our first client, who we still have today. And he said, yeah, he saw the demo, he liked it, and he wants to buy it. And the aha moment there is we developed our CIO product. We did it in about 2 weeks. That's no guff. We put it together. We did a demo on it, and this company bought it. And we looked at that and we said, well, this one company would buy it. We have a client list of 10,000 other customers or 10,000 other clients that exist out there. I wonder how many more we can actually get to buy in on this product. And that really just that kind of really just drove this moment up for us, and it kind of promoted the excitement, the growth opportunities that came that were beyond proportions of what we had scaled for when we set out with the product. When we took the product to market is when we realized all these opportunities and how we're going to move it forward and what are we going to do, and so after these aha moments or these wow moments, the the follow up behind it was really for Cilio anyway. It was kind of like this unorganized chaos that kind of happened. Not really too many conventional workflows happened. Again, there was myself, another developer, and we were just hiring in our third. We brought in a few more support reps, another couple salespeople, and as the company was growing, it was everybody was kind of just doing something, and it was a lot of busy work. And sometimes a lot of busy work is not being efficient; it's just being busy. So, in order to take the busy work to become efficient, we had to become more organized in our approach, and that's when we introduced software like Jira for ticket tracking and management, Git source, DevOps, a lot of these different things for the tech side. So now everybody has a communication channel to talk through, see the application code, get these processes put together. But yeah, the aha moment of being able to say, we develop something as a company and people like it and they want to buy it was like, holy cow, here we go. And the fire hose, and it really
Wow.
started taking off. It really started taking off, and yeah, that's when I joke, and it got a little crazy, and but we grew, and we grew with it, and but yeah, that was a big turning point in the company, was actually hitting that milestone, and all that hard work. Oh my gosh, the hard work that we put into this thing, Love, is endless. And to see that actually start happening was, on those two separate occasions in 2008 with my father, and then again in 2015 running our CIO product. It was extremely rewarding, to say the least. Extremely rewarding.
Wow, that's quite interesting. So now moving to very interesting, the the topic of this discussion is, which I found, based on my stats, people find very very interesting, and they see this as a learning opportunity. Failure stories, or in another term we call it as a war story. So what was it like for you?
Yes, that's a good question. I think our failure or challenge or obstacle or war story, or however word that one, is when we brought our product to market. We gave the market a way to solve a business problem by saying, here's how you solve it. And we implemented the processes from a development standpoint so that the software did exactly what we wanted it to do. But what our failure in doing that is we really failed on allowing the customers to configure much of anything in the software product. So they can change their usernames and their passwords and turn email alerting on or off, and simple things like that. But what it wouldn't do when we started was drive a level of maintenance so that they have configurability options of turning things on or off. So when we implemented some of our earlier portals, every implementation almost required a developer to come with it because there was so much work that had to be done. That was part of it. And the other part of it too was manufacturers are all different, even though they're all in the same space. They all manage their companies different for strategic reasons and company growth reasons. So not every one shoe fits every single client. So without having configurability in the system, it drove our development costs up because we had to continuously make these changes. So that was our early on failure, and I hate using the word failure, but definitely a challenge in making that work. And so how we overcame that is we morphed our early products with our new product, and we said, all right, configurability has to be number one. We have to implement roles and permissions for our users, so users can see things that they want to be able to see as controlled by an administrator. They can use the system and log out after a certain period of time. They can interact with the system at a certain point in the day. All these different things. Our permission sets, I think, have like 100, and I think I last checked like 180 plus different flags inside of them.
Oh, wow.
It's a lot. So you have this option and opportunity now of configuring your system for yourself and for your users and your crews, and we didn't have that before. So that was a that was a huge learning lesson,
Wow.
and implementing that permission role based system and being able to do this allowed us to take it to the different trade categories that I mentioned earlier. You know, the flooring, the windows and doors. You know, roofing. You know, solar panel. You know, everything,
Wow.
everything. Without that configurability, we wouldn't have the option of doing it. And that is a plus of Cilio, is that we don't tell the market how to do their job. We just give them the tools to do their job. And again, we make sure that they look good at doing it. So that was our that was definitely our failure, but we definitely overcame it. I pretty sure we did.
Wow. That's really amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Great. So with that, let me move to a final question. That's not a question, that's more of what advice you would like to share to other technology leaders or professionals who wants to, build a similar tech startup or company or want to play a leadership role in
sure,
any organization.
sure. I think I think the biggest piece of advice I have to give anybody that uh, wants to hear or care is that you have to get into it because you love it and you want to be able to do it. If you don't have a passion for it, it is not going to work for you at all. It will turn into a job. And if you're doing a job, your mind and body is going to fight you. You're not going to be happy and you're not going to perform well. When you're happy and you're smiling and you're working with guys like Love, you work about 20 to 30% better in your day-to-day operation. So you've got to have commitment. You've got to have the love for it. And if you don't have those things, you're going to have a very, very tough time growing anything. However, if you do have those things, like even for myself, I'll start working at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and it will be 5, 6 in the evening, and I still haven't had any food to eat yet because I'm enjoying what I'm doing, talking, communicating, and building and growing the environment. So if you don't have a heart for it, it's gonna be a job, and nobody wants to do just a job. You want to do something you're passionate about. So if there's a process flow or a niche market or something that just absolutely triggers you, that's your way of knowing that that's a strength you have, and you should exercise that and chase that one down. So nobody wants to sit around and just I got to do my job today. Everybody wants to do something and be successful at it. So you got to have the heart for it. You got to have the heart for it and the
Oh,
patience.
that's great. So make your passion your fuel for the body.
Yes,
Fantastic.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. Love that's the winning recipe right there. You got to be passionate about it. You got to love what you do, and if you don't, you're gonna have a real tough time going forward. If you know what I mean.
That's great. That's great, Jeremy. So thank you very much for sharing such a great insights. It's really a great honor to have you on our show. And I'm sure whoever is listening to this podcast must have learned some great lessons out of it. And my listeners, if you have any questions or anything you want to ask Jeremy, please feel free to write on the comment section and we'll definitely get back to you. So thank you very much, Jeremy, for being with us. And so much great learning from you. Thank you so much. And
Awesome. Thank
audience, I
you.
look forward in your next podcast. Thank you
Awesome.
so
Thank
much.
you so much. Thank you. Take care, love.
All right, guy. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.